Have you ever felt like people tried to push you aside, replace you, or take credit for what you carry? Let me tell you this, when they tried to replace you, they didn't realize they were about to expose themselves. Today, we're going to solve this problem, why no one can take your place in God's purpose. My name is Dr. Myles Munroe, and I believe that every human being is born with a gift, a purpose, and a destiny that cannot be duplicated. You are not an accident. You are not a copy. You are an original. And when people try to replace you, they step into an arena that doesn't belong to them. Listen carefully, God never created substitutes for destiny. When others try to walk in your shoes, they will stumble because those shoes were crafted only for you. When they tried to replace Joseph, they threw him into a pit, but the pit became his platform. When they tried to replace David, they gave him Saul's armor, but it didn't fit. Why? Because destiny doesn't fit imitators. So here is the truth. Every attempt to replace you will only reveal your uniqueness. Their imitation will expose their limitation. And the more they try to silence you, the louder your purpose will speak. Stop worrying about who is trying to take your place. You were never in competition. You were designed for contribution. The world doesn't need another version of them. It needs the authentic version of you. Do you know why you sometimes feel threatened when people try to replace you, when they push you aside, or when they act like they can do what you do? It's because deep inside, you already know the truth. Your purpose is not transferable. Your destiny cannot be substituted. God never created you as a spare part in this world. He created you as an original design, carrying something that nobody else can duplicate. Let me tell you something powerful. The greatest mistake people make is assuming that positions can be replaced, but purposes cannot. You can take someone's chair, you can wear someone's clothes, you can even imitate someone's words, but you cannot replace the assignment that God placed inside of them. That's why I always tell people, never confuse a role with a purpose. Roles can change. Purposes never change. Think about it. If you remove a part from a machine and try to replace it with something that looks similar but was not designed for it, the entire machine malfunctions. Why? Because that piece was created with specific measurements, specific angles, and a specific function. That's the same with you. When God created you, calculated the exact environment you were supposed to be born in, the exact time in history you were supposed to arrive, and the exact gifts you were supposed to carry. You are not a coincidence. You are not an accident. You are intentional. And intentional things cannot be replaced. That's why when people try to replace you, they don't even realize they are exposing their ignorance. They are trying to stand in a space that was never designed for them. They can try to act like you, talk like you, even dress like you. But at the end of the day, authenticity cannot be copied. Your DNA cannot be transferred. Your fingerprints cannot be duplicated. Your purpose cannot be hijacked. Let's go deeper. The reason purpose can't be replaced is because purpose is tied to assignment. You see, a chair is just a chair until it finds its function. A key is just a piece of metal until it finds the lock it was designed to open. In the same way, you are just another human walking on earth until you find your assignment. And once you discover that assignment, no one else can walk into it. They can try, but they will fail because the lock was designed for your key. Look at history. Think about Moses. Pharaoh had thousands of magicians, advisors, and priests, but none of them could lead the people out of Egypt because that purpose was locked in Moses. Think about Esther. There were many women in the palace, many who looked better, many who spoke smoother, but it was Esther who carried the purpose for such a time as that. That's why I tell you, never let people intimidate you with their talent, with their beauty, with their influence. Talent can impress people, but only purpose can impact generations. Some of you listening right now, you've been crying because someone rejected you, someone replaced you, someone overlooked you. But hear me, they may have replaced your position, but they can never replace your purpose. They may have taken your role, but they cannot take your destiny. Because destiny is not decided by people, it is decided by God. And when God says something belongs to you, no one else can walk in it. I want you to think about this. If purpose could be replaced, then why hasn't anyone else ever been able to do what you do the way you do it? Why hasn't anyone been able to bring the same energy, the same vision, the same unique perspective? Because you are carrying something original. You are an unrepeatable miracle. And this is why the world suffers when you hide your gift. The world suffers when you believe the lie that you can be replaced. Let me challenge you today. Stop living like a substitute. Stop acting like you're on the bench, waiting for permission to play. You were born for the field. You were born for impact. And even if people try to push you aside, they are not pushing you out of purpose. They are pushing you deeper into it. Because rejection often becomes the womb of revelation. When they move you out of their circle, they move you into your destiny. That is why I tell you again, your purpose cannot be replaced. It cannot be substituted. It cannot be transferred. You were born to solve a problem that no one else was designed to solve. And until you step into it, the world will always feel the gap. One of the greatest deceptions in life is believing that if you copy somebody else, you will succeed like them. But let me tell you, imitation is not the same as originality. When people imitate you, they are not actually proving their strength. They are revealing their limitation. The fact that they have to copy you means they don't know who they are. It means they don't have a vision for themselves, so they have to borrow yours. I want you to think about this. A shadow looks like the real thing, but it has no substance. A shadow can move like the original. It can stretch, it can bend, but it cannot breathe, it cannot live. And when people try to imitate you, they are nothing more than shadows. They may look similar, but they cannot carry your substance. This is why purpose is so powerful. When you walk in your purpose, people may try to do what you do. They may try to talk like you, act like you, even build what you are building. But here's the truth, they cannot sustain it. Why? Because imitation doesn't carry the breath of God. Only originality does. Look around you today. We live in a world where everyone wants to look like somebody else. People dress like their favorite celebrity. They talk like their favorite speaker. They sing like their favorite artist. They even preach like their favorite preacher. But have you noticed, the copy never outlives the original. The copy never lasts. It fades because it wasn't born from authenticity. Let me take you to scripture. Do you remember when Saul tried to put his armor on David? He said, David, if you're going to fight Goliath, use my armor. Saul was the king. His armor was royal. It was polished. It was impressive. But David tried it on and realized, this doesn't fit me. He said, I can't fight with this because it's not mine. If David had imitated Saul, he would have lost the battle. But David understood something powerful. Imitation exposes limitation. David went into the battle with what was authentically his, a sling and a stone. And that's what brought the giant down. Now hear me carefully. People who imitate you may look successful for a season, but eventually their limitation will show because they are working outside of their assignment. They are walking in shoes that were not made for them. It may shine, it may look glamorous, but it has no foundation. And sooner or later, the cracks begin to show. Let me bring this closer to you. Maybe you've been watching people imitate your ideas. Maybe they've taken your style, your business model, your words, even your vision, and you're wondering, what if they replace me? What if they get ahead of me? Let me give you peace today. They cannot outlast you because imitation is a weak substitute for originality. The moment they copy you, they've already confessed that they don't have a vision of their own. And when you don't have your own vision, you eventually run out of fuel. This is why I say imitation exposes limitation. It exposes the fact that they are not walking in their own identity. It exposes the fact that they are dependent on you for inspiration. It exposes the fact that they are insecure about what God gave them, so they have to pretend to be you. But here's the danger for them when you live as a copy. You die never knowing who you really were. Think about it. God gave every bird its own song. The eagle doesn't sing like the sparrow. The lion doesn't roar like the tiger. The palm tree doesn't grow like the oak tree. Everything in creation is authentic. Everything has its own design. And whenever something tries to imitate another, it malfunctions. That's why in the animal kingdom, when a predator disguises itself, it's always temporary. The disguise cannot last because it was not built into its nature. I want you to really hear this. If people are imitating you, don't be upset. Don't feel threatened. Don't feel small. The fact that they are copying you means you're ahead. You're leading. They are following. And when you're leading in purpose, no one can take that from you. So instead of being discouraged by imitation, be encouraged, because every copy highlights the value of the original. Every counterfeit reveals the worth of the genuine. Every imitation is proof that what you carry is worth noticing. They wouldn't copy you if you weren't valuable. They wouldn't imitate you if you weren't making impact. And here's the final thought I want you to keep in mind. The world doesn't need another copy. It needs you. It needs the authentic, original, God-designed version of you. Because when you imitate someone else, you rob the world of your own contribution. But when you live authentically, you not only expose the limitation of the imitator, you inspire others to be authentic too. Rejection is one of the most painful experiences a human being can go through. When people close doors in your face, when they say you're not good enough, when they push you aside and act like you don't matter, it cuts deep. But let me tell you a secret about rejection in the kingdom of God. Rejection is never the end. Rejection is redirection. Every time man says no, God is pointing you to a bigger yes. I want you to think about this. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in history happened because someone was rejected. Joseph was rejected by his brothers, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, and forgotten in prison. But what his brothers thought was rejection was actually redirection. That pit was not his grave. It was the doorway to the palace. The rejection that was meant to bury him became the path that positioned him. David was rejected too. When Samuel came to anoint a new king, Jesse brought out all of his sons, but he didn't even call David from the field. Imagine being rejected by your own father, overlooked by your own family. But what Jesse thought was insignificance, God called chosen. That rejection was redirection. David wasn't supposed to be standing in line with his brothers. He was supposed to be in the field writing psalms, preparing for the throne, killing lions and bears to get ready for Goliath. And think about Jesus himself. The Bible says he came to his own and his own did not receive him. That's rejection. The stone that the builders rejected became the chief cornerstone. The most important stone in the building was the one everyone else threw away. That is the power of rejection. Man's rejection sets you up for God's elevation. Let me bring this closer to your life. Some of you are crying over the job that didn't hire you, the relationship that left you, the friends that betrayed you, the people that refused to support you. But I want you to hear me. Rejection is not always about you. Sometimes it's about God protecting you. Sometimes the no you received was actually God saying, I have something bigger for you. I have something greater waiting that this person, this place, this position could never give you. Rejection forces you to move. Rejection forces you to grow. If everybody accepted you, you would become comfortable. If every door opened easily, you would never stretch your faith. But when people reject you, it pushes you to find the doors that only God can open. It redirects your focus from man to God. It reminds you that your destiny is not in their hands, it's in His hands. Think about it like this. An airplane doesn't take off with the wind behind it. It takes off against the wind. It's the resistance that gives it the lift. Rejection is resistance, but it's also redirection. It may feel like you're being pushed back, but in reality, you're being lifted higher. Now, let me give you something practical. The next time you face rejection, don't ask, why me? Instead, ask, where is this taking me? Don't ask, why did they close the door? Ask, what new door is God opening? Because every rejection is pointing you to a redirection. Every no is pointing you to a better yes. Every closed door is proof that another door is about to open. And here's what you must understand. Rejection often reveals your real assignment. Look at Moses. He tried to deliver Israel in his own strength, and they rejected him. They said, made you ruler over us. That rejection forced him to run into the wilderness, but it was in the wilderness that he encountered the burning bush. It was in the wilderness that God gave him his real assignment. The same people who rejected him later followed him out of Egypt because rejection redirected him into God's timing. I need you to hear this with your spirit. Stop mourning the people who walked away. Stop chasing after the doors that closed. If it was for you, it wouldn't have rejected you. And if it rejected you, it wasn't for you. Rejection is God's way of saying, that's not your door. That's not your assignment. That's not your destiny. Every rejection is simply a divine redirection toward what was always meant for you. There is one thing you must understand about life: the original will always outlast the counterfeit. Authenticity will always outshine imitation. You see, the world is filled with people trying to copy trends, trying to follow the crowd, trying to look like someone else, talk like someone else, act like someone else. But no matter how hard they try, authenticity always wins. Why? Because authenticity carries authority. Authenticity carries weight. Authenticity carries the power of truth. When you are authentic, you are operating in your original design, and that is where your strength lies. Nothing is more powerful than a person who is walking in who they truly are. I want you to think about this. A diamond and a piece of glass can look similar at first glance. Both can shine, both can reflect light, both can sparkle in the sun, but over time the difference shows. The diamond keeps its value. The glass breaks under pressure. That's the difference between authenticity and imitation. The authentic survives storms. The imitation shatters under weight. When you are authentic, you don't have to compete with anyone. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone. You don't have to chase after recognition. Why? Because authenticity speaks for itself. When a product is real, it doesn't need constant advertisement to prove it's genuine. Its quality reveals itself over time. Same is true with you. If you are authentic, your fruit will speak, your results will speak, your impact will speak. And here is something powerful I want you to understand. Authenticity attracts loyalty. People may be impressed by talent, but they are drawn to truth. They may admire a performance, but they follow authenticity. Because deep down inside, every human being longs for something real. We live in a world of filters, fake smiles, false promises, and empty words. But when someone shows up authentic, when someone shows up real, people gravitate toward them. Look at history. Every great leader who left a legacy was authentic. Moses didn't try to be Pharaoh. David didn't try to be Saul. Esther didn't try to be Vashti. They stood in their uniqueness, and it gave them authority. Even Jesus, the people were amazed at him because he spoke with authority, not like the scribes and Pharisees. What gave him that authority? Authenticity. He wasn't performing, he was being who he truly was. Now let me talk to you personally. Some of you are exhausted, not because life is hard, because you are busy trying to be someone you are not. You are wearing masks, trying to please everyone, trying to fit in, trying to sound like others. And that's why you are tired, because imitation is heavy, but authenticity is light. When you are authentic, you don't have to remember who you pretended to be yesterday. You just show up as yourself, and that's enough. Authenticity also protects you, because when you're authentic, you can't be replaced. People can try to copy you, but they can't outlast you. They can try to imitate your style, but they can't carry your spirit. They can try to compete with your methods, but they can't duplicate your essence. And eventually, authenticity always exposes the counterfeit. Think about a tree. A plastic tree and a real tree can both look green, but only the real tree produces fruit. The plastic tree may look pretty for a while, but it can't feed anybody. In the same way, when you are authentic, you feed people, you inspire people, you empower people. But when you are fake, you can only impress people, and that doesn't last. This is why I tell you, stop apologizing for being who you are. Stop shrinking yourself to fit into molds that other people created. Stop dimming your light to make others comfortable. Your authenticity is your greatest power. Your authenticity is what makes you unshakable. And in the long run, authenticity always wins. You may not be celebrated immediately. You may not be recognized right away. Sometimes authenticity takes time to be seen. But when the storm comes, when the pressure rises, when the challenges hit, the authentic always remains standing. Because authenticity has roots, while imitation only has appearances. So here is what I want you to carry in your heart today. You were born with a purpose that cannot be replaced. Nobody can take your place in destiny because God designed you uniquely, deliberately, and intentionally. And when people try to imitate you, remember that their imitation only exposes their limitation. You don't have to compete because the original will always outlast the counterfeit. And when rejection comes, and it will come, don't see it as the end, see it as redirection. Every closed door is God's way of guiding you toward the right door. Every no is making room for His greater yes. And in the end, authenticity always wins. You don't need to be like anyone else. You don't need to wear another man's armor. You don't need to prove your worth by imitation. All you need to do is stand boldly in who God created you to be. Because the world doesn't need another copied. It needs you, the authentic, original, unrepeatable version of you. So don't be discouraged when they try to replace you. Don't be shaken when they imitate you. Don't be broken when they reject you. Because all of it is working together to prove one thing, that no one can cancel what God has ordained. And when you live authentically, your purpose will always prevail.